ഉത്തർപ്രദേശ് നേറ്റീവായ ആദ്യ സംവിധായക സുഭദ്ര മഹാജന്റെ ഡെബ്യൂ ഫീച്ചർ ചിത്രമാണ് സെക്കൻഡ് ചാൻസ്. ഈ വർഷത്തെ കേരള അന്താരാഷ്ട്ര ചലച്ചിത്രോത്സവത്തിൽ ഏറെ ശ്രദ്ധ നേടിയ മറ്റൊരു ചിത്രം. സിനിമ കണ്ടിറങ്ങിയ മനുഷ്യരുടെ എല്ലാം കവിളിൽ ഉള്ളു നിറഞ്ഞതിന്റെ ഒരു കണ്ണുനീർ തുള്ളിയെങ്കിലും കാണാം. ഹിമാലയത്തിന്റെ വർണ്ണാഭമായ കാഴ്ചകളെ മോണോക്രോം ദൃശ്യഭംഗിയിൽ വിശാലമാക്കുക കൂടിയാണ് സുഭദ്ര. പ്രാദേശിക സിനിമകൾ കൂടുതൽ ശ്രദ്ധിക്കപ്പെടുന്ന കാലത്ത് സ്ത്രീ സംവിധായകരുടെ സിനിമകൾക്ക് കൂടുതൽ പ്രാധാന്യമുണ്ടെന്നാണ് സുഭദ്ര പറയുന്നത്. സെക്കൻഡ് ചാൻസിന്റെ വിശേഷങ്ങളും IFFK അനുഭവങ്ങളും പങ്കുവയ്ക്കുക കൂടിയാണ് സുഭദ്ര മഹാജൻ. Thank you so much for coming to Kerala and showing us this movie.
Thank you.
Congratulations on this.
Thank you.
I watched the movie and it's really like making people think about a second chance in every perspective. Like
I'm really glad to hear that.
There are 3 characters. They are deep and I think it has a lot more personal connections, the characters. Is that true? Does it have any personal feelings?
Yeah, of course. I mean, see, I think any young city woman, or even for that matter, not woman, even men can relate to Nia because, she's coming, the place that she's coming from just is like very fast paced and very thankless. Even though we don't see it, we only hear it in the beginning, when she's trying to talk to Kabir, who is not answering her phone.
Even the parents.
And the parents, so the little glimpses that we get of the place that Nia comes from, I think all of us, very little glimpses is required in that because all of us can relate to it like this.
Yes.
So we know the kind of internal emptiness and void that she is facing, especially at a time like this where she is stinging from abandonment by her boyfriend or lover, whatever you want to call it. And also she's had to take this very difficult decision of, terminating a pregnancy,
Yes.
which I'm not saying it's always difficult, but it can be very difficult, especially for somebody like Nia, because over a period of time you realize that she has maternal instincts, the way she behaves with Sunny, how she looks
her
after.
belly.
Yeah, so it's so that's about the character of Nia. And the characters, the rest of the local characters, of course they come from a personal space because, like I've said, I was born and raised in this area. So these are the kind of people I have been living with since I was a small child, and character of the, like I already said it, I think in the Q&A, that there are many things that I learned from my grandmother which is being reflected in the character of Bhimi, and there are many things that I have learned from my little brother who are reflected in the character of Sunny. And not just that, but then the people who are cast to play the film, I think a lot of their own personal ways of speaking and characteristics and have all come into the film. So that's where all the realism and the authenticity and the personal feeling of the film comes in, including even smaller characters like Raju, for example, or the shepherd, who for me is a very important character actually, the shepherd, even though he just comes in 3 scenes.
Yeah, he's just handing over that old.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but he's like a character who represents this tribe known as the Gaddis of Fuhals. They are pastoral nomads, and they are like, they've been part of our Himachali culture since eons, and right now they're facing a lot of problems with the modernization and especially with climate change. And for all you know, over the years they might just disappear. Like this old man, he's no more, he passed away recently, but like his sons and his grandsons are not going to take after him in the same profession. They're already doing other things, So the kind of wisdom that he has about the mountains, because he is, lived out in the wild all his life, and he's lived at the mercy of the elements. So the amount he knows about the patterns of nature, the herbs that grow there, as well as, levels of snowfall, water, everything, all of that knowledge is disappearing. So I've tried to keep a small bit of it in the story without going into too much, because one has to stay with Nia and what her story is. So we can't get into like a documentary about
the Himalayan
yeah, but just had to bring a bit of it in because otherwise it would not be responsible of me.
Okay. So in the recent times, Indian cinema is actually moving to very localized
settings.
Yeah.
Even the local languages are being recognized.
yeah.
And the industries are being like celebrated actually.
Yeah.
Even South, it is happening in a very quick
Absolutely.
pace.
Yeah.
Okay, so Himalayan movies are very unfamiliar for us.
Yeah.
Was that a reason for you to actually go to Himalayas and bring the stories from there itself?
Absolutely. See, now you're very right, and I feel like regional films in India, the kind of regional films that are being made are exquisite and super, and if I might say, they are much better than the mainstream Hindi language films. Okay, some of my favorite films on the recent years have been from regional in regional languages. Now, whether you want to, like for example, I really love Reema Das's films.
Village rock stars.
Of course, Village Rock Stars and all her other films as well, Bulbul Can Sing and Tora's Husband. And I mean, there's lots of other really, really good regional films. So I think it's a great trend, and I do hope that the government supports it, that the audience supports it, and it grows further. And coming to Himalayan films, off late there has been over the maybe 10 years or so, there have been interest in Himalayan films. Most of them come from Nepal though, if you see.
Yes.
A lot of them come from Nepal. And the thing with the Himalayas is East, West and Central Himalayas are quite diverse. So the Nepal and Bhutan films are great, but from this part of the Himalayas where I am from, we don't have much cinema.
Okay.
So I wanted to. It was a kind of a deliberate attempt to tell some Himalayan stories specific to that region, because there are none, and I feel like there are some great stories and some great characters you can see over there, and they deserve this kind of screen space.
Yes, and the filmmakers are mostly women, and that is also something which we have to honor. Like even
This
from
year at
the-
least, yeah. This year has been a great
even
year.
the regional films are
Yeah,
made by
yeah.
female directors
Absolutely.
and produced by them. So
That's
that
amazing.
change has been happening. Even in IFFK, the
Yeah.
majority of the movies are directed by like female directors, or most of the movies are female-oriented movies.
That's
How do
great.
you see this change?
It's a great change now. I'm not very sure why this change has taken place, but I really welcome this change because, I mean, especially if you see over the past 1 year, with, of course, you know, there are going to be very obvious names that come with Payal Kapadia's All We Imagine as Light, and Girls Will Be Girls by Suchi Talati, and of course, Reema Das has made another film, Village Rock Stars too, and then there's more mainstream films which are made by women, like Lapata Ladies, which is India's Oscar entry this year. So it's a great year for women in film in India, and I think we really should continue forward in this direction. And because it's high time. I mean, so many hundreds of years we've been only listening to stories that are told by men from a male perspective, you know. And it's high time we get some female perspective, and that doesn't mean they're just telling stories about women. They are telling stories about men as well, but from a female perspective. So there's a difference, and I think it's time that we hear more of these stories.
Yeah.